Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey there.
No worries.
I'm gonna until some people come in. So we're gonna start about like 6:40ish. I think there's enough time. Not even. Maybe a little bit less than that. Alright, just let me know.
Hey, can you hear me? Great.
Hi, Alan.
Hey, Aaron. Brandon, all the way from Minnesota. Is that the new Ashley icon?
Your volume's a little low, by the way.
Fine. Because I'm awake. I'll be on mute. I'll be on mute. I need to scream at because it's farther away from
Are you on
the
Discord?
US.
Change the audio input.
Gotta protect the throat.
You can.
I feel ya.
You just said to say, but you can change the audio input.
For some reason I can't just share my like one specific screen. I have to share the whole screen. So yeah, I'm gonna need someone to like if there's any questions or anything like that, just let me know. Just open your mic and just ask.
Alright, it should work now.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, Aaron, I'm looking at the question that you have. I'm trying to understand if support continues, I think I could become a turning completed. What does that mean? Do you mind explaining that a little bit more?
Yeah, not sure either. I was trying to decipher the Turing thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused. Well, this is not so much of this call is just really high level of like best practices for UX. We're gonna go into Figma just a little bit. The next call, if we have a next call, which probably we're gonna go over variants and components. So this is just very high level stuff for the best practices that most designers should have, as well as devs. Just basic, really, really high level stuff that every good website should have. And this is great for your guys' portfolios. So you don't have designers criticizing every little decision for your designs if you do a portfolio or not. Alrighty, I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes and then we can get started. Shouldn't be. Oh, never mind. Hi, James. Hi, Donald. Jennifer. Hey. All right. From just a thumbs up, how many of you guys are either developers, designers, QAs? So I know if there's more. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Dev. Okay, cool. I know this is supposed to be like, I'm assuming most people here are software engineers or devs, but I just like to ask people generally those questions because I just want to understand just a little bit more about, okay, DevOps, okay. Just a little bit more high level just to speak to the audience and who's in the call. Perfect. Okay. I guess I'm gonna get started. So let me just share my screen real quick. All right, now I can't see any of the Discord channel, so if someone can like let me know if they can see my screen would be great. And so I'm gonna
We can see your screen.
Cool. Alrighty, awesome. Alrighty, so let me just stand up real quick. So this call is just overall the best practices for UX UI with partnership with Grammar Hub. And I'm going to just introduce myself really quickly. Hello, my name is Ashley. I've been in the industry for about 3 years. I primarily sit in the fintech and banking industry, as well as the small business platforms using Shopify, Squarespace, and Wix. And it's awesome to be able to help different types of people in the small business aspect, as well as building their social media platforms. So today we're just going to talk about UX and the principles. So we're going to go over the basic understanding, like I said, of UX and UI, the understanding of the importance of spacing, layout, responsive layout, and if we have some time, we're going to go into Figma and just play around. And I'm just going to show you really high level of understanding where is the colors, the fill, the radius, which is basically the corners of the buttons, as well as just padding. And we're going to talk about a little bit of auto layout, which is super, super important when you're working with larger designs. It helps out with us as designers, as myself, as well as you guys as devs. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so user experience or product design, it asks these couple of questions when we understand a product. We understand who's the user, why is our user interacting with that, what are our goals, what is our business goals, as well as our user goals. Because if you have a great product but it doesn't solve a problem, then you might as well just be creating something out of fun. Like, where's the business? How you guys are going to get paychecks, right? Where is the pain points? So why is this a friction point? Why are people not liking this website? Or if you're creating a website, what is the pain point that maybe somebody may have or a user may have, right? What are the best practices? What is the specific niche or specific products that for example, the banking industry, right? In the banking industry, I work for American Express. We take payments and we're transactions, and there's fraud and credit. And what are the best practices and overall production or overall operations? And how can we improve this overall system? And how is more when you are analyzing a app versus a new app or an old app versus another app. So let's, for example, if you are creating a redesign of another app, how can we make this better? And that comes to a whole workshop that we can do, or UX personnel do that every single day. So what is UX and UI, right? UX is solving a problem, a framework. So it's basically steps that puts the user in the heart of the process. So every decision that we make sure that our users are in the center. That's why we have user experience designers, as well as we have researchers. It is purposeful and delightful to interact with. So if you have an app that is awful to use, nobody is going to want to use it. Nobody is going to want to spend the time, spend the money to buy a monthly subscription, of anything because it's not useful or it's longy or has bugs or has a lot of other factors that doesn't really make sense to why you're doing this or why you're even having the app. Okay, so what does user design mean actually? User experience or design is the process of which a user needs to identify and solve. So it's solving a problem. And I think when we have to realize that it's great to have something that works, something that looks beautiful, but if it doesn't really solve an issue, then what's the point? What's the point of having a great design or having a niche or having an app to solve something, right? And the traditional definition, which is more of an older or very academical definition, comprises of all aspects of the user's end interaction with a company and it serves in its products. So a lot of people have this traditional aspect that a lot of people don't know the difference between. Just trying to, because if anybody needs me, just open your mic because I'm hearing on in and out, and I'm like, wait, is everybody on there? So what is the difference between UX and UI? And like I was saying before, now in older times, and I guess in like 5 or 10 years, it's actually have been really changed. A lot of people think it's UI, which is the beautiful and the interaction design and the visual aspect, and UX is more of how it works and how it solves the problem. And I remember, and when I was in class, my instructor was just very dramatic, and she was like, no, UX comes before UI, and it's not any way other around that way. Because it's true. You can have a beautiful website, and it can have a flying button and do all these cool interaction design things, but if it's not really solving something, then what's the point of having something? What's the point of spending all this time, all this money, and at the end of the day, your users don't like it, and your company, unfortunately, may not even exist in 5 years because they're not really understanding their user. Going back to those 5 questions that we asked is understanding the why, understanding the who, understanding what is their pain points, and how do we make someone's life easier. Like I said, first of all, UX is not UI. It's completely 2 different disciplines. You can be a UX designer and you can be a UI designer, or you can be a product designer, which is a little bit of both. Like I was saying before, user experience design is a visual and interaction design. Visual is how it looks and feels on the website. It adds a personality to it, so that's branding. So like, for example, let's put American Express because I see it every single day, right? Everybody knows American Express because of the dark blue. Everybody knows because of the figurine or the president that we have on there, or the Trojan horse, I would say. It's not really a Trojan horse. I don't really know the name of that figure. And interaction design is how people interact with a website. So does a button switch? Does it hover? Does it do cool animations? Does it make a cool sound? Does it vibrate on your phone when you click on it? So this is more of UI. UI overall is the visual aspect. And how does it make you feel? Not what it does, but how it makes you feel. So like I said, UX is how it works. UI is how it looks. So how I think about this is UX is the story, is the steps that you do something. So like, for example, like a maze, right? A maze can have one direction, and a maze usually has like greenery, or it can have like, I'm trying to think of another maze, or it can have flowers. So UX is how it's structured, how it's in and out and going from one side to the other. UI can be the greenery, it can be the flowers, it can be the sky, it can be how it feels on your hands. So those are the main really difference that I would say so, and making it more easily to understand. And another thing that you can think about too is when I was trying to tell this to my parents, they're like, so you're gonna do UX and UI, so tell me about that. And my parents were older, so I would think UX is like the blueprints, right? Every building needs to have an exit and an entrance. And how does it look? Oh, maybe it's gonna have a gold handle, or maybe it's going to be this really tall door, or maybe it's going to be a really short door. Those are more of the visual aspect, and they may be green, it may be blue, and those are some decisions that you have to make with the product, with the branding that you're trying to do. And sometimes as UI designers, you would actually sit and make those brand guidelines. So here we go, the 10 best practices. This is very, very broad. These are one of the best things that I would say for any devs who are trying to build their portfolios, to keep in mind of what UX is in the principle, because with hiring managers, they do actually look on how clean, does the website make sense? Is there a bug? Is there not a bug? How does the website feel? Is there cool interactions? Does the buttons have a radius? Are they all over the place? Are they inconsistent? So those are some things that if I'm looking at devs, I'm not a hiring manager whatsoever, but if I look at web development or any software engineer's portfolio and I see a little bit of inconsistencies, I do like notice it, and I'm like, oh wait, that button's not right, that's a different shade. Also, I look at colors and design and structure all day, so I might be a little bit biased towards it because I see it all the time. And maybe you guys see open code somewhere, there's a button and it goes right to open code and it shows you those like little dev issues or bugs or not the best practices to do. So we're going to jump into the first one, navigation, right? So navigation should be 5 to 7 items max. It can be on the bottom, it can be on the top, it just needs to be consistent without the whole website. So if you have a border, if you have a header, where it says Spotify and it has the premium, throughout the whole website, through every page, it's consistent. It's going to be there. It's like saying, hi guys, here's a door, or here's my directions. It's really, really important because it gives the direction of the page. Okay. So the most important is always first. So for example, in this situation, as you see the Spotify one, premium, it can be a strategy of business. They're trying to get people to subscribe to their premium channels. As well as you see in the McDonald's ones, you see my order, because that's where most people are going to not check out, or they're going to buy the order, or they're not going to buy the order. As well, it's a way that most people or most businesses have done it. In UX, there's a lot of politely copying and pasting what works and what doesn't work, and I'm pretty sure it happens in devs as well. As well, to be very specific. Be specific on what it is. So for example, not very complicated complicated copy. So if you see on Spotify, it has premium, help, and download, right? It doesn't say download now. It doesn't say like, oh, download in 5 hours. No, it says download. It's very, very broad. It's very, very general, and it's specific to what it is, right? Like I said before, it's consistent. It's an easy way of finding it, so it's in every page it's there. And then as well, when it's on states, it's selected, so it may change, it may not. So in the McDonald's app that you see right there, the user is actually clicking on the combo meal, and it's telling the user, okay, you clicked on that, so that's the one that you want, or it's been selected. Okay, so we're going to go into number 2, or some examples, sorry. So dues is when you're doing it, you want to make sure that it's categorized into grouping. It's easier for navigation. It's easier to read. Also, people read from left to right in the US. I'm pretty sure in other countries they might read right to left, such as Japan, and correct me if I'm wrong with that. As well as you see the don'ts, it's very, very hard to read. You have lighthouse, you have four horns, you have signals. So it's not generalizing. It's not specifically grouping everything into one subgenre, right? So if you see on the do's, you have marine, you have all the industries, you have all the specific, groups, as well as personal. So you have all the other things that might be personal to you. right? And it's task orientated. So you want to make sure when you're doing a navigation that you don't have a one that says, like for example, this one would be, I'm trying to think something marine. You can do the propeller, right? Okay, great, the propeller, but it wouldn't make sense to put that in personal because it's not, it's a part of the marine, it's a part of the boat, right? So it should provide communication. It should tell you, okay, yeah, it tells you where you should go, right? It tells you the grouping of items that every category should go into. Okay, alignment. Alignment is super important. Like I said, left aligned text. So we read left to right. So it's easier to read, just like an Airbnb. So Airbnb has a great way of doing visuals with text. There probably is an overlay over this picture. It's really, really easy to read, except for me, because I look at it and I'm kind of like reading this with glasses, where you see the booking right by the tree. So I would have maybe moved it a little bit. I'll put more padding to the right. I'm sorry, less padding to the left, excuse me, so that I could see the whole word, as well, aligning the columns. So everything is either on the top where it says Explore Airbnb, and then you have the different categories. So everything looks consistent, everything looks the same, it's put together, right? As well is that there's hierarchy. So there's a smaller text where it says only Airbnb. There's a broader, more bolded text when it says the type of Downton Abbey, and then it goes back to that consistent text of a lowercase. And it's the same, but the only difference is that it's a lighter, it's not as bold. All right. Like I said, alignment is really important. It's left in line. It's easier to read, scannable, as well as to follow a path. Most of our eyes, when we read on anything, it just goes straight down. And you can go a little bit graded to the left, but it's still very, very important to keep it all left. As you see here on the don't, it's really hard to take the time to figure out where you're going and where you need to, okay, like log in. Why is it, for me, I'm thinking, okay, why is it not in the middle, or trying to make it align and make more sense towards it. If it was me, I would have just changed the whole thing and just left aligned it. Just the same thing as you see sign up and login. It doesn't really make sense. As well, every screen should be frictionless. It should be easy. It should be quick. It should get people into the website, and that conversion rate goes back to a lot of other. In UX is really important, the conversion rate, which is KPIs, which is the conversion rate, how much people want to do that. I'm side noting here. But alignment is super, super important when it comes to text reading on the web. Responsive grids. This is every website or every platform or every device has a type of grid. It can be an 8 grid, it can be a 12 grid, it can be any type of grid, but it just needs to work with your design. It needs to work with your text, with your stack, really. So here you would see desktop and mobile. So what in design is really important is to try to stay outside of the gutters. Try to, every text that you have, don't put them in the middle of that gutter, because if you break it, the website will, like if you expand it bigger or smaller, it won't look polished, it won't look together, and it just doesn't look very well. As well as you guys in devs, it's easier for you to have a column grid, auto layout kind of thing, and that goes back to me this year learning a lot about auto layout with Figma. As someone who is not a dev, that's something that I struggle definitely with. As well, on top of that picture, it shows you that every grid, there's a grid within the website. It can be a 4 grid, it can be an 8 grid, and everything is perfectly aligned, and there's spacing in between each individual box.
Actually, could I interject just 1 second?
Go ahead.
Talking about like a real world example of the auto layout. We started using auto layout like not too long ago at my company, and before that, like I mean, this probably makes you 10 times faster, opposed to trying to like figuring out all the things yourself as a dev from like just
Oh.
design, like just like 3 different breakpoints. So yeah, it's a very, very valuable tool. Will save everybody's a lot of headaches and money and time.
Definitely. I can relate to that because at work, originally we're on Sketch, and Sketch didn't really have, it did have like breakpoints and didn't really have the auto layout aspect. And so we were having a lot of issues with tech coming back to us and be like, no, this doesn't work for our breakpoints, or it doesn't look right. And we had a lot of that back and forth. So ultimately, switched to Figma because of the auto layout functionality, which saves everybody time. So if you can really understand that, is amazing. All right, columns and alleys. Like I said before, there's some gutters. So if you see on the white side, it says columns to the left. So you're going to have the count. So this is actually coming directly from Figma. I just took a screenshot of it. And as you see in the components, this is where I'm actually putting the buttons deliberately, or the circles, in between the gutters. And the reason why I did that is because, look, it doesn't look polished, right? It looks in the middle of the page. It doesn't look like there's spacing. There might be some spacing, but it doesn't work with the actual gutter size. It doesn't work with the actual breakpoints. So it doesn't, and with design and devs or anything like that, you really have to understand that people are visual, and that if they're trying to give you a job, or they're trying to give you an internship, I guess you can say, they're really looking at those little details, because details is where it really matters. And columns is super important too, because it's the width of the page. It's the width of the breakpoints. So you really want to make sure that you put all the content, all the text within it, and try not to go into the gutters, or the alleys, as they say. All right, so buttons and CTAs, which is call of actions. So if you see here, we have one primary button that gives you a direction. So this is directly like, do it now. This is the main button that I want you to do, or like sign up, learn more, draft. So it's the primary action. Then you have a secondary one, which is maybe not as important as the first one. It's sometimes the strategy of the business, or the strategy of what we're trying to do. So, and this can be driven by another strategy, KPIs, or how they're trying to make business or try to make money for the website or not. And then you have the third, tertiary, that word is always hard for me, which is probably underlined. And you primarily see that a lot in links. So maybe a link to outside, to another third party, or to another tab. And so basically, all buttons should tell you what to do, or should call a call of action, right? And as you see, there's no button that is fighting for the attention, right? So you see the primary looks like a primary. The secondary doesn't compete with the primary, right? One might be bold, one might be just outlined in a field with white. So it's really understanding what do you want your users to do, and how you're going to do that, and making sure that there's no friction point. And it shows you to do something, right? Okay, so now we're going to move on to format, right? So it's text alignment, so everything is left aligned. Grouping modules, so everything is in sections. So you have the header, you have a subheader, you have the content, all the pictures, or it can be an icon. And this is really, really, most product websites, or more websites that are on the market now, I guess, have some type of this column layout, right? So grouping, there's a type of color. As humans, we're very visual people. I don't know if this was in black and white, I don't think I would be very interested in reading it. As well as there's different sizing. So if you see, there's bold, and there's lighter, and there's, when you see show adventures, there's like a light gray or a light teal, I would say, as well. And there's subtle hints of that draws your attention to this, right? So if you see in the car, if you see in the stars, right? That's a different one. And you may not see it like automatically, but if you're looking for the next best adventure, you want something that's gonna have 5 stars, 4 stars, right? It's a visual aspect. It tells you what to do, well, not what to do, but it shows you that kind of interest. And it's, yeah, it shows an interest, I guess you can say. And there's different sizes and their collections. As well, formats. So if you see, this is really, people don't read on the websites. It should be really easy, very high level understanding. As you see on the don'ts, it's really, really hard to read. I think Wayfair does this a lot too, where they just put tons of information and be like, okay, guess it now. Guess what we're telling you. But it should be sweet to the point. I think people on the internet only spend, I think it's 3 to 5 like seconds per like each column to understand everything right that. And the text size should be in a format of hierarchy. So if you really want things to be like really want people to draw, like this is the best and newest information, like you see on the Medium, there's only a few pictures of that. But on the other hand, too, is that Medium is a news and it's just text, and whilst Elm is more of furniture. So as I'm looking at this, and I'm like, wait a minute. But if it was me, I would have maybe just put the best or best-selling items on West Elm compared to that. So that's my opinion on this. But ultimately, you want to make sure that the text size is based off on hierarchy and grouping. Consistency is super, super important. Google does a very good job of making sure that all the buttons are the same, all the texts are all the same. The look and feel is a Google. Like, you know when you're not on a Google site. Because 1, the logo's not right. 2, the text is not the same. Like the font size, if it's bolded or not bolded. There's white space. I tell people all this time, white space is your friend. It adds, I would say, it adds an importance to it. So if you had tons of little items around it, it wouldn't really make sense. As well as branding, like I said about the logo, you know when a website is Google because of the branding aspect, as well as all the text, and all the texts are the same, all the logos are the same, and there's tons of white space and the color looks the same as well, which goes back to branding. All right, layout. So like overall, I feel like I'm saying the same thing. Layout and UX alignment is super, super important. If I could say one thing out of this call is make sure that your alignment, make sure that everything is left aligned, make sure that all the categories make sense, right? As you see here on NBC website, everything looks organized. Everything has a certain system to it, right? So you have one main CTA, which is that button. It's making you want to go watch it now. As you see anywhere else in the website, there's no other button, only that one button. And it can be a strategy, it can be a layout concept, and there's 2 buttons really. But the main button that you see is start watching now, right? Because we want people to start watching the website. And what it does too is that it's easier for people to go to it. If you had a button all over the place, like start watch here, watch there, right under trending now and the latest episodes, it's going to be very, very hard for users to tell where to go, right? And negative space is back to that white space as well, because there's padding on the left, padding on the right. It's consistent throughout. As well, there's some hierarchy levels. So the main is the voice, and then all the other elements underneath that. Like I said before, spacing, making sure that your spacing makes sense, so that you don't have on the top, like for example, let's do what you get. So there's a font size, and everything looks consistent. The top and the bottom is 32, as well as the top and where it says high quality. There's a spacing in between them. It's really important that you make sure that you have white space that is consistent with your text, excuse me, as well as your photos. If your photos are one bigger, larger, like one is bigger, one is smaller, one is tinier, it just doesn't really make sense, and it's hard for people to understand what you're trying to do and what you're trying to sell or educate or tell your story or whatever it may be. Spacing is very, very important overall. Margin, like I said before, this can go back to gutters, making sure that there is spacing in between that, as well. White space and negative space and gutters are kind of all the same because they're talking about the spacing in between the elements or the breakpoints. So it doesn't bleed to edge, so that it's concise into the little box. And something too is that it's easier for devs because it's in a divider. Like there's a divider, a div, and it's easier for devs to ultimately design or to code this. And please correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody on the call, please tell me. If not, I'm gonna keep going. All right, cool. Okay, forms. Forms, I think everybody on the website has done. I think today I have maybe done like 3 or 4 to sign up for something. But now I'm just realizing that forms can be a little annoying, especially if they're not done correctly. As you see here, there's 1 per column, 1 field per row. Everything is left aligned, the labels. Reduce fields. Like if you don't need to add a field for it, then don't make your users do it. Don't make your users put their birthday, and only provide the most, or only ask the most the most important information. It doesn't really make sense to ask them other questions when it doesn't need to be that. Also, you don't want to fill up the form or the page with tons of forms or fields. Only, I would say, between 4 and 5 fields per page. Now, you don't want to make it too long either for your users. I would say maybe 4 or 5, and only ask them the most important information. Once they make their account, you can prompt them to make their own settings, to change their password, or if it's, like I say, a banking industry, right? Only ask them the first 5, maybe ask them for their name, their birthday, and then move on into the next page and ask them another information that's required. Because if you give them a long form, nobody's going to do it. The attention rate it just dies kind of thing. It just lowers down because nobody really wants to spend 20 minutes filling a form. You're not the IRS, like just make sure that you're not putting so much information on a page when it comes to forms. Okay, location. Making sure that your CTA, when you're on a mobile device, is present everywhere. If you're going to put a CTA on the bottom of the page, make sure that it's everywhere. Like I said, it's persistent, so it's always there. It's navigation. Make sure there's information, key information, like as you see on Uber, request a pool, or on the bottom on Airbnb, it has your home, it has your heart, as well as your account information on there, right? Also, there's this theory, which is not really a theory, it is a fact, that your phone, depending on the device, there's a phone thumb zone, that when you're holding your iPhone or you're holding any phone, your thumbs go to the bottom of the page. And so you want to make sure whatever buttons you do, that they're on the bottom of the page, that it's easier for your users to be able to click on that button. You don't want to have a button all the way to the top of the page, to the top of where on the sample, where the batteries are, or the top of the header, right? You want to make sure it's easier for your users. Ultimately, UX is solving a problem. It needs to do it in a quick and efficient way that it doesn't make you throw the phone across the room and just be like, oh, I'm done with this kind of thing. You want to make sure that whatever you're solving is it's eliminating the pain points for your users, right? And in sight. So it's bolded, it's in your face, it makes sure it tells what you need to do, right? So the last one is a look and feel, right? So look and feel is the color wheel. So a color wheel is the psychology of colors and how it makes you feel. So as you see, and there's all different types of colors. So when I think of like red and I think of violet, I think of very like summer colors, right? It can be a dog, like a lot of products that I've seen that are for selling products on the beach or for like fun and beachy is a lot of blue and red and orange. It makes you happy. It makes you want to go out and do that. Now, blue, on the other hand, like I'm going to go back to American Express. It makes you feel secure. And mostly banking industries have had blue and red in that. So it makes it feel more secure and more confident as well. And Google is a little bit of everything, a little bit of their own variation of color wheel. But, you know, Google is its own world kind of thing. And then I want to say typography is really important as well. You want to make sure that select a font that makes sense, right? These are the best UI fonts that you can use. It's easier for people to understand that. It's people, like your users want to make sure that it's a font that's rolled around, that you can use it with different things as well. All right, let me see something. I feel like I showed you the wrong one. Oh no, I did. Alrighty, cool. Alrighty, so we're almost done. So we're gonna go into a Figma workshop. This link is gonna be in the events tab for you guys, so you can click on that and it should take you there. I am going to end this as well. So here is my information. I am on LinkedIn or here on Discord. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new about Figma, about UX. Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, that's true, Ralph. They did put their own Material UI for sure. Brandon, yeah, I would say it's kind of like social engineering in a sense. I think social engineering is more academically, like you find that in more in sociology aspects, understanding that how society works in a general like big worlds, and UX is a very small subset within the users and within the actual website spaces. I didn't know that too, Total. That's cool. I've used your phone in 14. Also, if you are trying to submit an app that has really bad UX or has really small or doesn't meet Apple standards of like UX, they will automatically deny you. And I say this is because out of experience. When I was working on the startup company before American Express, I had to do like a whole different re-engineering like 3 times because 1, they didn't like the UX, or 2, it was because of technical restraints, and then another one was because one page had one font that was tiny compared to it, and I was just following their guidelines, and it was super interesting. So it's really important that you're making sure that the fonts, because they will really like get to you, and it just makes user experience doesn't really make that work.
Ash, out of that
Yeah,
list that you put up for the fonts, is there one that you pick usually?
I really like, let me just put the link for Maria in the chat. Let me see if I can find the font that I really like. What was the font that I like? Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. Streaming, oh, here. So I really like San Francisco. Helvetica is an Apple, like I think it's only found on Apple devices. So as well, Roboto is really nice. It just depends on what you're really looking for and what you're trying to go for. It goes really back to branding. Is your company or is your product trying to sell something? Like Helvetica, I think is like most. I'm telling you, like in trade, like secrets kind of thing here. American Express uses Helvetica everything because it gives you that sense of security and that sense of comfort. So if you want your website to give like that sense of like maturity and seniority and comfort, try to find something that's on the lighter tone. And this typography is a whole different conversation that we can go on for another whole different topic. But let me find the link for Maria.
I have a hack for everybody. So whenever you're like designing a website, just go and find a multi-million-dollar website and copy whatever they do because they already spend a ton of money getting it to look that way.
Claire, that's true. That's a very, very good point. So in the chat, there is the Figma sandbox or the link. Let me know if that works because I was trying to get into the premium version one, but unfortunately, my card wasn't allowing it. It was saying that my address is incomplete, which is not weird enough. But let me know if that works. If not, I can just show you. I can just stream, or I can share my screen and we can do it from there.
Yeah, we can
So,
see your screen probably.
you can? Can you open the Figma though? It works? Cool. Okay. Alrighty. Let me go to my... Cool. Seeing everybody. Cool, cool. Alrighty. Can everybody see my screen? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So here's Figma. Figma is one of the world's leading design platforms or design tools. I don't want to say platform, I want to say tool that allows developers and designers to sit in the same space and understanding what to like, how to do it. And can I get a sound or any kind of weird sound if you used Figma before? Or yay, or some weird sounds, or yeah, I did it. Yeah, Figma's great.
I made an account. That's as far as I got.
Okay, that's something. Anything else? Anybody else? It's the first time. It's so hard not to see you guys and like try to present this. It's difficult for me. Okay, so here I'm gonna explain a little bit of Figma. I'm gonna so you guys are gonna understand where to find things. So on the top where it has the name, it says like Grammar Hub UX Sandbox. So that is gonna be your header. So you're gonna be able to see this part right here. So you have you can go back to your files. You have your file section. You have edits. You have an arrangement. You have plugins. For example, if you want to do a Jira plugin or you want to do a Webflow. Like for example, I'm trying to get my website off of Squarespace into Webflow because I'm tired of paying for the subscription. And I think Webflow is a lot cooler for my design, for what I'm trying to do. As well, you can add widgets, preferences. So there's tons of things that you can do, right? So here you can be able to move your item. So here I'm going to move it. So you want to make sure that you have the little, I forgot what these are called, cursor, I guess you can say. As well, you can scale something. So you can move it up or down with pressing that. Or you can just do it, you can click on the little box on the side and you can just expand it, right? But you're expanding just the background. And with scale, you're scaling the whole object, right? Cool. And then we're going to go back to move. And then you have your frames. So you can make a device. So if everybody can go into the little number sign, and you're gonna go to your frame. So on the top header, I see you, Rachel. So it's gonna be on your left side, if you're following. If not, you can press Command F.
I don't think we could
Can
edit
see my
it.
screen?
No,
No?
we could see your screen, but I don't think we can edit it.
Really? Hold on, let me see something. Maybe not. Oh, cool. Okay, approve. Oh, yeah, no. Never mind. Sorry, guys. I wanted to do this, but because I don't have the premium version, it won't let us do it. Damn it.
Hey, just curiosity, Ash, how much is that premium version per individual
I think it's $15 per individual
per month?
per month. Yes. Yeah. I
And with
know.
that, do you get something interesting other than edits and all that?
So you get dev mode as well. Let's see if it's
Okay.
gonna let me do it. It won't let me do it, but dev mode is be able to. You can actually take your whole HTML CSS code. It makes it for you already, and you can just put it into virtual code if you wanted to do that. Dev mode is really cool because there's a lot of other plugins that you can do. You can do. Let me see if I can show it on one of mine. Give me a second.
So in dev mode, you can actually link the Figma Visual Studio Code
Yep.
like app. You can like actually link and see that like those Figma files ready right there on Visual Studio Code and get like all the stuff. It's a pretty crazy integration.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I'm trying to see if I can show it on this one. Give me 1 second. This is my website, which I'm kind of redesigning. I don't know if this doesn't let me do it. Yeah, it won't let me do it. But basically, if you don't have access to it, you can look at the general information from it. So I'm going to click onto screen 2. And then you're going to be able to see the frame size, the width, the width, the height, as well as this has auto layout. So this doesn't have auto layout. This was a design that my team won for a hackathon that we did. I thought it was just the most easiest thing to bring out. As well, you can be able to see the fill. So if, for example, if you're on a team, right? I think most people, maybe not everybody on this call is on a team, and Alan gives you a design, but he doesn't have access to it. How do you look for the colors, right? How do you look for the text? How do you find the radius of a button, right? So here, we're just going to break this down from out to in, right? So here, you're going to see the fill. So the fill is the background. And why is that, right? Because I'm going to go change the color real quick. My mouse would work here. And that's the fill of the background, right? So you can be able to see the color, and it's in a hex code as well. You can change the variation of the color. I forgot what these are called again, but you can be able to see the hex code, and I'm going to change it back to white. As well, you can see here, I'm going to zoom in real quick so you can see. Can everybody see that first? I could see it, but I want to make sure everybody else can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
Perfect. Cool. Okay. So here you have these little spacers, or these little, I would say, like scrollable items thing, right? Individual element, and you can see what the color of this is. This is black, right? And it's going to tell you, okay, the width is this certain width, right? And the height is a certain height. And this is a great item to have, or most devs should know, because as designers, we might send you something and be like, hey, we need this to be done, especially if a freelance freelance project, right? Someone might send you a design and be like, I need this to be code now. And you may not have dev mode, and you may not be able to have all these specific elements. But if you know how to use the tool and click around, you can see what is the sizing, right? As well, this is a different color variation too. This might be C4. So all these little elements make a really big deal for it. So for example, like this one, right? Here, you're going to see the width, you're going to see the height, as well as there's two elements. There's this element, which is the icon, and you can be able to click on it too once you have like access to it. Obviously, you're not going to have like, you may not have the ability just to view it, but you can see the height and the width, right? And the radius too. The radius is this little corner, this corner radius. And you can see it may not be precisely the right radius. And usually radiuses should be like an even number, like that. It should be like one solid number. It shouldn't have a decimal. As well, if you want to see what style or font name this might be, you can click on it and it tells you the name of it if it saves onto your computer. Text might be a little bit difficult to find, especially because typography, people make typography all the time. And one designer may be able to find it for you and have the actual working file. And some designers may not have that. So it's really communicating with designers what works and what doesn't work. And basically, as well as this button too, you're going to be able to see the radius, the size, the color, the size of the font size, which is 23.3. Mind you, well, this is not the best design aspects because this was done in a very quick hackathon aspect, but usually you can be able to see the sizing, the buttons, as well too. Most designers work on a design library, and they have all the buttons done for you, and they just send it off to you guys as devs to produce what you guys have based off what the design is. All right, and then the same thing here. You can click on these icons. You can ungroup them. You can ungroup them, and you can break the element apart. So let's say this is black, right? You can be able to see the color, but usually there's no point to do that. Just download it and just make it, put it as a SVG, and just do it that way. As well, you can click on the radius of, you can click on the outside circle or the ellipse, and you can see the border, the height, as well as how big of the circle it is. And you can put even emojis too. Like this is just an image. Cool. Does anybody have any questions? Since you guys can't edit on it. Let me go back. Yeah, you can do, there is CSS plugins. I don't know if there's a cost variation to that. I'm trying to think what else. Any tips or tricks that a newbie might miss? I think is understanding just the principles of UX, or going super fast and not realizing what is the main issue that you're trying to solve. I think what makes a good partnership between a dev and a designer is having one main, like, you understanding what's the pain point for the user, and understanding that you are part of the team and that it's more of a collaborative motion between that. And I think that's tech in general. But specifically for UX, is just really making sure that you're consistent overall. I've seen a lot of dev portfolios that are all over the place with color. Try to keep with one palette or one color wheel or monadic, or I don't want to go more in depth because it can get really it can get into the weeds or the rabbit hole of color and typography, and it can, I'm trying to keep this very high leveled. So, but we can always have a call on typography and other UX elements. Yeah, I would say so, definitely. Especially if you, oh, sorry, the question, I didn't read it. Is it worth paying for dev mode? Yes, definitely. I think it's super important because it makes your life a lot easier. Other than what I was showing you where I was clicking around to get the little radius and the colors and all this other stuff. It gives you like a couple steps ahead. So all you got to do is just copy and paste it into whatever code editor you're using. As well, Donald was saying that there's another plugin that can go directly, it links the Figma to the project. And so it's easier for you to just start coding away, especially for the CSS. Because you know how CSS is sometimes.
I do have a hack for the CSS
Oh,
without.
you do? Cool.
Yeah, so
Oh.
so there is a plugin for a website called Builder.io. So basically,
Okay.
Builder.io is like a no-code, low-code website builder, and you can use the plugin to import the Figma into Builder, and Builder would actually like create the code in like pure HTML, CSS, or React with different types of like React. Even I think it even has Vue and Angular. So it's pretty interesting. It's
Wow.
called Builder.io. So you just have to create like the Builder.io account, and you do the whatever, like add it to your workflow in Figma and export it, and then you'll get pretty much the component kind of like almost ready built. It's pretty decent. Not for like if you do an entire page, it won't be responsive and all that stuff. But if you do like components that like just like little pieces of it, it's actually pretty good.
Any more questions? Or anything I should do better?
I'm sorry, I was taking a
question.
mute. No, go ahead. Mario.
Any questions or anything that like just feedback overall?
So where's the YouTube channel?
Oh, wow. Wow. You know what's funny? Before I wanted to do a YouTube, but I get so, as a designer, you tend to like nitpick yourself a lot. And I don't have the best setup. I don't have this. It's more of like you don't have things, but you wish you had them to start something. But in reality, you should just start it. Like, I think everybody, even devs, need to have that, even designers. If you don't know what to do, just do it. So I even get like that too.
So what I'm hearing is today was your motivation to make that YouTube channel.
I don't know if it's motivation. I think it's just more of me being like, yeah, I can do it. More than doing this. This is like me and Alan's conversation all the time. You should do this. Oh no, I don't know about that. You know, like as you guys, like Alan is like, I guess, my mentor personally, and Alan's just like, no, you should do it. What's stopping you? All the time. So it is kind of motivation, but at the same time, it's more like, yeah, I can do it when I'm ready. Like I have a lot on my, I have a lot going on. So, but yeah. Anytime, Maria. Anytime. Anytime you want to be a guest, please be a guest. And anybody else who wants to be a guest, please. That would be actually good, and that would be a good like Grammar Hub YouTube channel. Would be a good idea. Invite everybody. Do like a live stream. Oh, Ralph. Oh, Ralph left. Oh man. Anything else?
Can you go through like a demonstration of like your workflow? Like how would you, I guess, how would you create a website in that sense? Like how would you go about designing it?
So there is multiple ways of doing that. Let me just show my my webs, like my actual portfolio. I think that makes more sense. How to do the hackathon one. So usually when you get a project or you get a client, usually they're very like, it depends on the client, right? Some clients you may have them very like they know what they want X, Y, and Z, and sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes you have to do more research, understanding their user, understanding them as a business owner. So what I'm about to show you is a hackathon that I did for one of the projects before Grammar Hub, actually, funny enough. And this one, what was it before Grammar Hub? I think it was before Grammar Hub actually. And this one was pretty interesting because we already had a theme, really had an understanding of what it was. And we really want to just break it down. So here you have the why, like why are we doing this? Why are we solving an issue? And this, our theme was diversity and inclusion in the workspace. And through talking to people, understanding their pain points, a lot of them feel disconnected. And this was during 2020 when the whole world was basically like, I don't want to say dying because that sounds bad, but like the whole world was ending in a sense. And so our project was basically a Tinder for the workspace for that left and right because so many people are used to it. So usually you do a workshop. In this workshop, you understand what is our problem, who's our users, how we're going to solve the problem. What helps is having a project manager or a product owner that understands the space, understands their like the operations. They're the ones who understands what is going on and what's not going on in the space or in the product. And then usually you have a team, and once you get like defines the features and like the main business model, like the business money or the KPIs or whatever you want to do to it, then you start dividing the tasks. Mind you, well, this was a very quick product because it was only 24 hours as a hackathon. And hackathons are great because it really helps you to understand what's your skill point and how quick you can produce something. If you can create a product in 24 hours, you can sell anything. And I tell that to devs all the time. If you can sell a hackathon, like if you could sell a product and get some type of reward, or not even that, or just get up there and talk, you're winning most of the battle. So usually when you get to this space, you already have kind of an idea. You can do like whiteboarding, you can do sketching, you can do a lot of different things to that. But this one was just quick and easy, and I don't want to go into a whole case study about it. But usually you already have a design in mind, and you go back and forth. But this is, I don't know if I'm answering your question particularly, but let me go back to have this. Okay, this one. Oops. Let's do this one. This one's a little bit more precise. So usually you have like a roadmap, right? And you have to understand the problem, construct, evaluate, and it's a whole concept going back and forth. It's a loop, forever loop, and you're constantly testing and variations your designs. So you go through research, you do a competitive auditing. So you're auditing basically other websites and features that they have, and what works and what doesn't work. And this is all about a cruise industry aspect, and then you do a data analytics, and basically it's understanding the data, understanding if there's actually a business point. If there's no business and there's nothing, it's not an upcoming, or if there's not money coming into it, then it's a very, very hard product to sell. Ultimately, UX, dev, and product is trying to sell something to make money. I know UX is supposed to solve a problem. Yeah, it's supposed to solve a problem, but ultimately everybody needs a paycheck. Is that sort of answering your question in a way?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't want to go too much into depth, but basically it's going through a roadmap and talking to your clients, testing your theory, testing your strategy, and making sure that your users ultimately like it and your stakeholders like it as well. But this can be a whole, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole too much because there's other questions as well. But you and I can talk offline if you would like.
Sure.
Cool. Let me just go to Maria's question. Can you talk about Figma templates? I just found that one. That the phone. Yeah, you can use any template that you want. They may have variables in it so that you may have to detach it. This is another topic that is really useful, that you can talk about. You can make it your own, but it's a little bit of a workaround, and you have to really understand Figma to make it your own and not try to like copyright or like copy other designers in essence. But like I said, we can do a whole different conversation about that at a different time if you want. Resources for typography, branding, anyone. There is tons of information that you can do or find on Google. But if I was you, I would start looking at like different types of typography that you like, or if you like a certain brand. Like for example, I love Spotify because I listen to music all the time. I listen to podcasts, I listen to mixes, I listen to anything really. And I really like just how the branding aspect of it. And it comes with just time. It comes with looking on the website and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Branding is its own specific niche. I'm not the best at branding. I try my best at it, but branding, there's tons of YouTube channels that you can talk about that, and that's a whole other marketing thing too. Anybody else? Well, it's been great to have this call. If you want to get off the call or we can keep talking, it's up to you guys. But basically, I'm done with my presentation. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Good night.